Okay, so I can X out of that. And then, yeah, Fred, it's all yours. And I will just tell you, besides everyone that we've talked to, Kimberly Burns in the room as well.
Okay. All right. So calling order of the community development meeting on May 13th, 2020 at 7 p.m. as permitted by the executive order to do this all remotely. Under roll call, we got Alderman Hawley.
Here.
Alderman Cantelo.
Here.
Alderman Mech.
Here.
I think that's everybody in here. Alderman Cazares. Alderman Johnson. Nope. Randy, right? Nope.
No, you called the 4 aldermen that are in the room. And then we also
Okay.
have Sarah, Howard, and Ahmed.
Yeah. I see him on the
Kimberly
screen
Burns
here.
as a
Right.
observer, yeah.
Eric Alvarez too.
And here's
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Alderman. Good afternoon.
All right. All right, public comment. I did not receive anything. I'm going to make an announcement at the end of the meeting under announcements. I received an announcement, but not a public comment. Randy, did you get anything? Mistake or anything?
I didn't get anything from anyone, no.
All right. All right, so then moving forward under old business, my school switched my laptop with a new laptop, and the other laptop has my stuff still on it, so I didn't get a chance to email out the minutes from the last meeting. And we'll just do double minutes at the next meeting. I always have the minutes ready, except this time I couldn't find it and didn't have time to rewatch it and retype everything out again. So I don't have the minutes from this last meeting in April. So we'll table that to the next meeting.
And Fred, Will's here now too, by the way.
All right, good. All right. Under new business, discussion of RTA access to transit intergovernmental agreement. We'll start with that. If Mark's on the call, if not, I believe we discussed this before. Is Mark on the call or no?
No.
Mark isn't Alderman, but I can. This is Eric Alvarez. I can answer any of the questions about
Eric,
that.
you want to just update the committee? Yeah.
Sure. Okay, everybody. So what this is the intergovernmental agreement between the RTA, which is the Regional Transport Authority, and the City of Blue Island for them to provide matching funds for the reconstruction of Irving Avenue between Vermont Street and New Street, and some beautification in between New Street and York Street. So basically lets the RTA, this is an agreement to allow the RTA to pay the city's match for the project. So engineering starting in phase 2, construction engineering and construction should be no cost to the city.
Move to approve. Alderman Hawley.
All right. Motion by Hawley. Is there a second?
A second.
I'll second it. All right. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So that was easy.
So which last night was that easy?
All right, update on Bios Farm. If Mark's not in here, basically, yeah. My update is, so we have 2 community farms this summer, and they're community farms because there's no sale of any produce. And I believe the mayor already wrote out a letter saying they can do it. So the community farms that normally at Memorial Park were moved temporarily because they're doing reconstruction of the pool and splash pad, digging up that whole area. So we moved them to temporarily between James and Ann Street behind the Montessori School, and also the old farm on Canal Street, a portion of the old farm on Canal Street. So all we have to do is vote. I don't think we even need to vote on it. The letter was included in the packet. Let's vote on it just to make it official. We're temporarily rescinding, separating those pins on Canal Street because it's just going to be a community farm right now. So we're halting the process of paying to lease that property because we don't have to pay if there's no sale of any products being done. It's a letter of understanding. So we need some motion to rescind the agreement we had a few meetings ago about renting the property to just letting them use it for a community farm or a portion of the community farm. So, and that's only for this. And I don't think we need a motion, the mayor's already done. I think it just looks good for appearances that we also ratified here. So to allow that, is there a motion? I'll make a motion. Bilotto, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mech.
Is there a second?
Zylman will second.
Second, Mech.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Any questions?
Yeah,
Annette Alexander's in the room as well.
this is Alderman Cazares. How does this?
So basically,
how does this affect
combination
any other
Well-
projects that
Oh,
we've started on the MWD property? How does this affect?
it has no effect. It doesn't affect it at all. It's the combination of Val Kehoe and Larry and Joe working together to do just community farming this summer. This shouldn't affect anything else we're working on. We're not throwing what we discussed out the window. We're just putting that as a halt because otherwise the red tape that's going to go through renting out that property and getting appraisals and all that stuff is going to take us to the state. So this is basically something to be done on that property where nothing would be happen. So we're still doing the process of what we discussed, except we need a, well, it's like I said, it's already been done. This just allows them to grow there now on MWRD property. And MWRD wants a letter of understanding with this, they're willing someone to grow there for nonprofit. So it really has no financial impact, zero financial impact. All it does is allow somebody to grow there where we couldn't allow anybody to go there for this season.
Okay.
Did I explain that clearly enough?
Yep.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? You guys got to speak up.
We are.
Discussion pertaining to Dunkin' Donuts cost estimate and lighting, parking lot sign. Is it all delayed, right? All right, so we're on number 2. The Dunkin' Donuts parking lighting. I think we should table this right now, but I'm gonna let Eric, since at least 3 think about which options we want to go with. We're gonna do this eventually. I just don't think right now in the situation we're in, we should just go full steam ahead right now. So Eric, a quick scrap you got.
Right, understood. I mean, yeah, this is basically not to do any work on it or anything like that, but just to get an idea of what you all would like us to do when the project does come back on for the lighting in the parking lot. So I have, did we lose Alderman Bilotto?
I'm sorry. Can I just confirm, is the address 13140, not 12140?
You know what? Hey, I'm sorry, Alderman Hawley. I thought we were talking about the lighting at the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot at Western Avenue and Vermont or Rexford.
Yeah. Okay, so the address is 13140, not 12140.
12140 is a separate parking lot to discuss with y'all tonight.
It is? Okay.
Yep.
Parking lot.
Because on the
Yeah.
agenda, it has it all in one.
Yeah. First, yeah,
Oh, I see. There's a semicolon. Never mind.
yeah,
Sorry.
they're both on here.
The
Um,
almighty semicolon.
Hey, just so then a little bit of clarification. So what I'm talking about now is lighting for the city-owned parking lot where the Dunkin' Donuts is near.
All right, Eric, so you want to talk about the Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes. So can you all hear me? Okay.
I hear you perfect.
Okay. Okay.
I think Fred's having some internet connection issues.
I got full signal on my thing here. I'm thinking.
Well, we're
not
answering
the
you, Fred.
host.
You don't hear us.
Yeah,
You're back, Alderman, though. I can hear you now.
yeah,
Hello.
Howard is here.
Hello.
yeah. We all good?
I think so. So I was going to continue and talk about the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot at Vermont and Western, or Vermont and Rexford. And again, this isn't to go into construction or anything like that. This is just for community development to tell us. We went out there with Works and came up with a number of different options for lighting the parking lot when it does get reconstructed. So at least, you know, when the project comes back on, we have a plan. It's basically 4 scenarios ranging from the absolute cheapest, which is replacing the lighting with new LED heads and painting the foundations. It's $6,300. Taking down, that's the first scenario. The second scenario is powder coating taking the light poles down, powder coating them black, replacing the LED heads and replacing the foundations. That's probably like the nicest cosmetic upgrade we can do, but still keep all of the poles and that sort of stuff. And that's about $11,700. Getting into the fancier options, this is to take down the lights, put in new decorative lights, repaint the floodlight pole in the middle, do new LED floodlights and paint the foundations. That's about $36,000. And new decorative. And then the last scenario, the absolute most expensive, is all new decorative area lights, replacing the floodlight, painting all the foundations. That's probably about $49,000. So what I would recommend, you know, this parking lot reconstruction is looking at costing about $290,000. So it's a pretty serious project. I think to leave the lighting in like looking really old would probably be a mistake, but I don't think we should, I wouldn't recommend, you know, going all out and spending, you know, $40,000 on lighting in a parking lot. I think, you know, powder coating the light poles so they look new again, replacing the new LED heads and painting the foundations is our best option at about $12,000. That's my opinion, though. This is for y'all's opinion.
No, I agree. The money would be cheaper. I'm still leaning forward on doing nice lighting and stuff like that. I think we should sit on these numbers just for a little while longer because I'd hate to do something and not do it right. And I know we're talking between spending another additional $20,000, but in the scheme of things, how the parking lot's going to cost $300,000. I think we should go with the decorative lighting, but I don't want to pull the trigger just yet. What's the committee's ideas?
Fred, Dexter's in the room now too.
Okay. Any opinion from the committee?
You know, I'm definitely in accordance with you know, letting this you know, continue working on this, but you know, leaving this project for you know a rainy day, because right now it just seems like going full speed ahead on this is a little too early for the situations we're in right now.
No, I agree. I mean, nothing's changing with these numbers that we got, but this stuff is still going to be valid for quite some time. I agree. I think we should wait. It'll be on the agenda at the next meeting. I'm going to keep it on the agenda. And when we're ready and hopefully the economy is back up and running, we can pull the trigger on this. I'd hate to jump into something, even though most of the money is going to be covered out of restricted funds. There's still a portion that might not be. So I'd like to just table it for just another meeting and we'll take it meeting by meeting. So if there's no opposition to that, I'll go to the 12140 Western Avenue parking lot situation. So everybody okay with that right now?
Yeah.
Hey, Alderman, just a quick question. As far as like direction on so are we tabling also like the direction on which way to go with the lighting too, or did y'all have an opinion on that?
I think we can just hold off the next meeting, but I'm more in the favor if we're going to do it when we do it and we're ready to do it. The amount of money difference when you're spending $300,000 anyway is minor. That's just my opinion, though. I think we can wait to make a final decision. And I figured Alderman Hawley would agree. I would think that's
Kind of
probably
the
the
whole point of what we have the Business Development District for.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I think, Eric, if you want an opinion, which way we're leaning is probably more towards the decorative stuff. And I think we can hash this more at a further meeting, but I think towards the decorative end of it.
Okay, understood. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right. And then this parking lot at 12140 Western, I believe this is that daycare situation. I don't know much more than what was emailed out today. So Eric or Howard, whoever wants to talk about it first.
Hey, Howard, did you want to talk about the signage at the parking lot?
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Hang on, unmute, sorry. No, Howard, go ahead.
So the property here, 12140 Western Avenue, that's the prospective parking lot for the daycare. We're in the process of reviewing it. They still need to get permission from IDOT to have a curb cut onto Western Avenue. But eventually this is a sketch of what's going to look like when the parking lot is going to be built. This is the Alicia Battle application. She has to still go for a special use application and probably a parking variance for this. But the main obstacle that slowed down this project almost a year ago was, getting a civil engineer and starting to create a parking lot that meets the city standards. So here's a good rendering. Both Eric and I decided to share it to the committee because, it's one of those things that's going to be an improvement on Western Avenue. And both Eric and I, we were talking about having temporary signs, especially, I guess, against the wall or on a pole for pickups and drop-offs for the kids, especially in the early morning and the late afternoon. But the main thing that's hinging on this project is the curb cut on Western Avenue. Once I receive confirmation, through the civil engineer for this person, that they have applied for it and it's in review, then I could take this application to the planning, zoning, community development, and of course, city council. I received word from the chair of the zoning board of appeals, Clifford Griffin, that he wants to see some type of confirmation that they're in the process of getting that curb cut, because they don't want to approve a plan where they're putting all the traffic onto the alleyway, which is already pretty deficient in the physical upkeep of the alleyway. So this is something that's moving along slowly but surely, but this is a good rendering. They're going to be providing lighting, fencing, and signage for the pickups and drop-offs, which I think is good because usually it's a 5 or 10 minute situation where they park the car, they walk over 2 buildings away from the parking lot, and they drop off the kids or they pick them up.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric, what is your experience as far as on an IDOT road, how the distance between curb cuts on Western?
I think on Western Avenue, they would allow it because this is mid-block, right?
Yeah, it's mid-block.
Yeah,
It is mid-block, but there's already 2 cuts to the south of there.
Yeah,
right.
but that belongs to another property owner. And I've discussed this. I've discussed several scenarios with Alicia Battle and with the engineer. If they wanted to do a shared parking lot with tenant A and tenant B, they could do that, but they would have to provide a cross-access easement and stuff like that. So they decided to do their curb cuts and not share the parking with the.
Howard, that's exactly my question. Eric, on Western Avenue, what is your experience on the distance between curb cuts that IDOT will allow?
Randy, I believe that they'll allow this like 1 per property, at least. The restrictions that I know of are from the corners rather than from like mid-block.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I think it also depends on whether or not the road's like restricted access, like if there's medians, like a big suburban road or something like that. But in an urban street like Western Avenue, I believe that I don't know of any restrictions except for distance from the corner.
So I take it that the committee wouldn't have a problem if Alicia Battle does erect some signs on a pole, especially for the pickups and the drop-offs, because usually that's kind of in the gray area. I would treat this parking as part of the parking directional signage. I wouldn't treat it as signs, but I at least would like the parents to know where they could park temporarily in the morning and the afternoon. Of course, the rationale is to have the employees park further away from the entranceway on Western Avenue. So all that parking in the front will be for the people going to the daycare.
I have no issue with it. The signage, Howard, I'm sure you're gonna get,
More
Um,
information, yes.
yeah, more information we'll bring to the committee, right? Do you need a motion on any of this stuff?
No, this is more of a, just to illustrate how we're moving along on projects that you don't hear from us for a while. This took us a while to get to this point where we are. Originally, she had an architect design a parking lot, and as everyone is aware here, you can't have an architect submit a civil engineering drawing. It had to be a civil engineer. So then it took her a while to find one. And Eric and I, we were conversing with this engineer before Christmas of last year on the parameters and the requirements for creating such a parking lot. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee regarding this parking lot?
No.
All good? All right, we'll get more information as it comes. Thank you, Howard.
Could I just do a quick one, Alderman, on the parking lot?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I add the correct thing to our plan review letter. And I guess Howard, you too, but anybody, the committee, how many signs are we looking for restricted parking? Or are we just gonna have them make a recommendation for us?
I would do like 5 or 6. Because the problem is this, I don't want someone parking in an area for the whole day, maybe an employee or someone who just decides to park there. And then the person doesn't have a proper place to park temporarily. So there needs to be some type of striping on the ground, morning and afternoons, quick pickups or stuff like that. That's gonna
Usually
eventually,
that's a sign, but
yeah.
but I'm
usually
looking
it's
at,
a
there's
sign.
one, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, before the handicap spot closest to Western Avenue. So like those five parking spots is what we'd be looking for,
Yeah,
pick
a
up.
little sign, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Eric,
thank you, Eric.
do you want to also converse on the other parking lighting for the Blue Island Medical Clinic, the old,
Yes, Howard, if that's okay with
Yeah,
you.
sounds good.
Bilotto? Okay.
Good.
So we've been working with Madison Construction and hit the parking lot for the new Cook County Medical Facility at the old Masonic Temple building. And we've got a lot of the details sorted out, but the last one that I know of that we're looking for the committee's opinion on is whether what direction we want to go with the lighting. Did you all, I think you all are pretty familiar. Like we've got, similar to Dunkin' Donuts, we've got like all the way up from, do we want to just replace the LED heads and paint the foundations? All the way up to, do we want to put in all new decorative like roadway style lighting? I don't know if y'all remember that was the one that met criteria.
If I remember correctly, we talked about this, that we wanted the style of the lighting to match what our future
Right.
plans would be for Western. So I believe the decorative lighting
Yes.
was.
Yes, that's correct. In a perfect world, they would be doing this, but we're getting severe pushback since last November, December, and Ahmed could also chime in if he wants to, from Madison Construction, that, they're pretty much only interested in painting the pole and putting LED. And the problem is this, both Eric and I feel like the more we prolong this, they're just going to walk away because they already paved the area, they striped it. And we're afraid that if we keep pushing for what you guys are asking for, they're not going to do any more improvement. Because now what you have is you have a pretty nice parking lot, nicely paved and striped, but you still have the old structured lighting and light heads, and it just doesn't look really nice.
So what is your recommendation, Howard?
My recommendation is for them to go ahead and put the LED in and paint the poles to match and make it look at least clean and professional. And then we could probably haggle with them down the road, because the problem is that they want some type of a split cost. And what they're saying, their lighting engineer is saying that with the decorative lighting, they're not going to meet the requirements for lighting the parking lot. And this went back and forth between Eric, me, and Ahmed several times, that they keep arguing with us about the lighting.
I have this to say, and I think we did get clarification, Eric, and you probably would know more. If we wanted to improve with the decorative lighting, the electrical and foundation was sound, correct? If we
Right.
wanted to
And
eventually
my
buy
understanding is we would be putting, we would be buying new poles, new mast arms, new luminaires. So, but the wiring would remain the same and the foundations would remain the same.
All right. So I remember getting the clarification that stuff was sound, that it could be reused without digging up the parking lot.
Right.
I'm leaning with letting them paint the poles and putting the LED up there, because at the end of the day, we still own that parking lot. And when we're doing the rest of the streetscaping, it would just a matter of updating those poles. When we do if we're buying 100 poles, we could buy 104, correct? If they're all going to match eventually.
Right,
Like,
that's,
just second what Howard was saying. I think, with this contracting company, getting them to do the LED heads and just getting them to upgrade the lighting right now is probably a good idea, so we can make sure that, the city gets what we can at least make sure it's improved while they're still here.
No, I understand that. And I think in a different world than we are right now, I would have made a motion to negotiate paying a cost of that. But I think we can still do that down the road without hampering anything, especially if the electrical and foundations are perfectly sound. It's just a matter of upgrading the poles at a future date. So I'm inclined to agree to just let them paint the poles and put the LED lights on there. And then when we handle the rest of the road, or when we even do Dunkin' Donuts, we can handle also getting the lighting for that parking lot or negotiate a price with them then. At least that's just my opinion right now off of the information you just said.
so I have two things to talk about or mention about this particular property. First of all, the project manager that we were conversing with left the company. So now we have a different group of people, and they're not in the same realm of understanding what we had like half a year ago when we were talking to them, especially almost a year ago in the summertime about the decorative lighting. Another thing that the three of us are very interested and concerned is for them to connect the storm drainage for the building underground to the main line on Western Avenue, and that costs money and time. So we're trying to get them to do that. So that's why the lighting is, it would be nice to have them do everything, but we're trying to at least do the parking lot and do the drainage, the storm drainage pipe for the new building.
No,
Well,
I
The
would
storm,
support that.
go ahead, Fred.
I would support letting them paint and do the LED right now, because it's not going to change later on if we want to negotiate with them, or even us replacing them ourselves. It's not going to cost more money if we don't do it right now anyway. So the committee has additional suggestions or comments?
I mean, obviously my comments are like, focus on that storm drainage. That's obviously a priority. That's the most important, since it seems to be the bigger project. So if, you had to pick and choose, that's a priority. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Fred and Howard to move forward with whatever they're offering. In terms of the lighting, it's not a big deal right now.
Any other questions or concerns? Howard, did you need a motion on this, or you're just going to take the recommendation back?
No, I'm just going to get the recommendation. I'll just take the recommendation back, and Eric and I and Ahmed will communicate with them. We like to communicate as a team, because for some reason they like to talk to one of us, and then they like to have us, debate with each other. Howard said this, Ahmed said this, Eric said that. So usually Eric is our voice when it comes to the engineering. So I guess Eric will converse with them about the lighting. That we did have a public meeting. We did ask the committee members today, and we all agreed that it's not perfect. It's better to have something new that matches the parking lot versus the decorative lighting we might lose on the lighting.
Okay.
Yep, understood. So
Thank you.
Howard, we'll get in contact with them. We'll keep Howard and Ahmed in the loop.
Right.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next we have, the community farm, I think was just doubled up. We also had in our bios. It's the same thing we already discussed. So we could skip number 3. Number 4, post discussion pertaining to Doran's landscape services. Me and Alderman Hawley met with Doran's, I don't know, it was last weekend or last week, and they're going to clean up the 3 sites for the contract. They're going to tear out the plantings that are there, or save what can be saved and replace it with new plantings. I think they were supposed to start at least the grass cutting this week. It looks cut to me, but I didn't see who actually was cutting it. But it seems like we're all on the same page. They're going to do what they bid to do, and we stress to them, do best job you can, because if they do a really good job this season with these 3 locations, depending on how the economy is, we could probably add to this contract later on with other locations like we originally discussed with those 13 locations total. So it seemed like a good conversation. It seemed like it went in the right direction. One of the owners of the company is a longtime Blue Island fireman and former resident. He does care. I think he's going to make those sites look great, and we take it day by day, and we can build off what they do at these 3 locations and see what works and hopefully what doesn't, and hopefully include other areas next season to add on to this. So Alderman Hawley, did you have any additional comments from the meeting?
No, I think I think they'll do a nice job, and they were going to get us some sort of planting scheme. I haven't seen anything yet. Have you?
No, I have not.
Okay, yeah, but it does look like it's been cut too, so it's good.
So we'll just keep an eye on it. And again, just to remind those 3 locations, just in case any of the committee members want to keep an eye on it, the entrance to Old Western Avenue, Dunkin' Donuts, 127th and Western, that corner like greenscape area, and the triangle on Western Avenue, Western and Grove, triangle where the flagpoles are. Those are the 3 locations we contracted for this season. So we'll just keep an eye on it. And if you guys see anything or have any ideas, please let me know or let Howard know, and we can get that stuff implemented. So that's all, just an update on the committee that they're planning to get started on that pretty soon. Update on the development grant program participants. So I put this on the agenda. Alderman Hawley asked me to bring up one particularly, and Howard said he was going to update us on a few that applied in the past. Kathy's Flowers is ready to start her work that we approved in December. And I think a few more Howard was going to update us on. If you want to talk about that, Howard.
Right. So as I spoke with Fred last week via email, I contacted our IT department for them to transfer the huge file to me. They weren't able to do it, so I don't have any particular projects to talk about. The only thing I know, before I left because of the COVID crisis, I was reaching out with all these people to make sure that they complete their grant applications and to start submitting the building permits. I think Ahmed can answer if she applied for the tuck pointing and the awning, because then now that falls under the building department.
Ahmed, do you know if she's come in and pulled a permit yet?
No, she only was requesting something about the grant, and then I contact her, and no, she got to go and pull the permit on that. No, she has not done that at all.
So just so Ahmed is up to speed, we approved the grant for her, but obviously she still has to pull the permit and go through the process. But we did approve the grant for the tuck pointing and the awning, along with a few others that we just need to find the file Howard has somewhere. But when she is ready for that, we did already approve it. So in case you didn't know.
Okay, I'll get in touch with her and ask and give her the information what she needs to submit in order for her to get the permit done.
Ahmed, since we're talking about Kathy's flower, have
Right.
you? I know you already spoken to me, but I would like for the committee members to know the situation with her having her door open and people walking in. She was alerted that she only could do curbside pickup and delivery. Is she complying with this at this point?
Yes, I visited her on Friday prior to Mother's Day, and I explained to her, and I gave her the copy of what we have from the governor's mandate, and she said she was going to do that. I also visited her on Monday. Actually, Mark and I would pass by and give her the information because we mentioned to her there were complaining people coming in, and she took the information and she said she was going to comply with that. I have not gone out after that at all. So that's what she said. And she actually posted the information that we gave her on her counter and also on the window.
Right, because the problem is that other businesses are looking at this retail business and they say, if she can do it, why can't we do it? So we have to be very, very careful with this one, because there are complaints coming in. I received a complaint on Saturday that she had the door wide open, and the woman at the counter did not even have a mask to greet people if they were coming in for a pickup, for a curbside pickup or what have you. So those are some of the stuff that, the governor is requesting, that if you have a business, you need to have a face mask or a face covering, especially if you're corresponding with customers.
I I went in there and paid a bill. I didn't even think about any of that stuff. I just can't believe there'd be more than 10 people even in there. I didn't even know it was essential or not essential. It didn't even occur to me till you just brought this up.
Wait, where are we talking about? I'm
Yeah, I think
confused.
flowers, I guess, is not allowed to be open under the non-essentials.
It's retail. Retail is only open on a limited manner. What's open today is supermarket, pharmacies, anything that's considered essential. We started receiving some cautionary complaints last Thursday and Friday, and we were a little bit open about, because it was Mother's Day and we were understanding. But now starting
That's
Monday,
the reason I went in there. I mean, that makes sense. It was so crowded. I mean, Mother's Day is probably one of the busier times of the year for them. So, okay.
I'm sorry.
Alderman Johnson.
Chairman Bilotto.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got a question. Not sure about how it, anyway. Isn't flowers kind of essential for like funerals? I'm just asking. I don't know.
I didn't know. Like I said, Alderman Johnson, it didn't even occur to me when I went in there to pay a bill and order flowers that they were open. It was second nature. I thought I just walked in and I was the only one in there, but I didn't even think about it till you brought it up right now, if they were essential or not, because I know they loosened a lot of the restrictions. I off the record, which we're on the record. I'm glad they are open and doing business. But we gotta abide what we gotta abide. So I'm very careful. I'm choosing my words carefully.
So as part of the COVID-19 response task force, we actually looked at that. It does allow for flower shops to be open, but only open for curbside parking or pickup and delivery, not for walking in and browsing and spending time at a store.
I'm guilty. I admit that I'm guilty. I was in there myself. So, all right. Well, thank you for the update, and I'm glad that we verified that she was approved for the grant. So hopefully she'll just pull the permit, and we're more than happy to see that work completed, and we can reimburse. The money's already set aside for her. So, any other ones that have contacted you, Ahmed or Howard, that we approved back in December, or is just Kathy's?
No, both Ahmed and I, we
Yes.
received word for Eagles for their, how do you call it, tuck pointing?
Oh, they called me up, and I told them to contact the building department. I think they said they completed their work or something.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have completed, and I did. The only thing he has to do was submit the paper, and I already talked to him about it, and he's going to receive that because they are exempt for a permit fee.
Yes. Yep.
Now,
Yeah, that's what they called and asked about. I used to be on the board there. They're a nonprofit, and the work looks. They used a Blue Island company right there on Wyerton, and the work looks good to me. It wasn't a complete job, but they're definitely got their grant money's worth. They did a lot of tuck pointing there for the grant money that we were appropriating them. So
right now, we also have to keep in mind, they applied for an earlier one for the outdoor seating, what would have been the backyard of their building. Now, this is a reoccurring problem because when they submitted the plans to Brian Polis when he was the building commissioner, what they provided on the plans was very different to what they did on site. And that's one of the things that Brian was trying to clean up before he resigned and stuff like that. I'd just like for Ahmed just to keep up on that, because if they're going to do any changes, then they should change the building permit to reflect the changes that meets the building code, so there's no errors or any accidents down the road. That according to the building permit, we approved something, and in actuality, as built, it was done differently because they've used volunteers, and the volunteers used a different system on building that outdoor seating area.
yeah, I'm familiar with the outdoor one, the previous year's grant, but this is just tuck pointing, I believe, right, Ahmed? This was just a tuck pointing grant, right?
Yes,
Right.
exactly. That's what he was saying. He was asking regarding only tuck pointing. Exactly.
Right,
Yes.
but eventually he's going to ask about the money for 2017-18 for that outdoor seating.
We're going to
And
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it then, I guess.
Well, what I'm trying to say, being cautionary here, I like to just clean it up as much as we can as we're moving forward with this, because I don't want to keep prolonging this one, because this is one project that for some reason or another, there never seems to be a time and place for everyone to be meeting at the same place and to go over this outdoor seating.
Okay. Just keep us abreast on it. And at the end of the day, I have not gone over there and looked at what they built. I'm out of curiosity. Now that I got time, I will go take a look at that. And now that we have a consistent person, yourself, looking over these things, I would hope that we won't have these, just like in the past, we don't have some of these issues again, you know?
All right.
All right, so moving on, number 6, discussion of farm animal ordinance. I was asked to put this on the agenda. We've talked about this before, and we kind of just tabled it and let it stew. It's now becoming an issue in the 7th ward. Alderman Klinker brought it up, and I know in my own ward and other areas of city, I mean, I've seen chickens in the past. It's mostly chickens we're talking about here, and roosters. So I was able to dig up a Tinley Park, a constituent dug up the ordinance, and I reviewed it from Tinley Park, and I think, and I didn't print it out in front of me. It's not a bad one. It allows them, but it allows them in a way where it's very specific where they can keep chickens and how many chickens they can keep. I'd like to submit that as a template, and nothing we can do tonight other than getting opinions and giving them back to Howard and Ahmed, how we're going to go about doing this, because then it has to be followed up with how we're going to enforce it. If we're going to enforce it, only enforce it when it's an issue, and so on. But I thought it was humorous, the Tinley Park ordinance, which was very detailed, was there was a big lobby, like chickens for Tinley Park or something like that. It was a big lobby. And like I said earlier, before we started the meeting, it's become a fashionable thing. I see more chickens now than I think I saw growing up. And it's from people that didn't have chickens before. So before it was kind of hushed up. And if you had chickens, they'd be like hidden behind a garage or in a shed. And now we got chickens openly roaming the streets of the 7th ward.
Oh no, sixth ward too.
6th ward. They're just openly, people are putting chicken feed in their yard.
Ward too.
Yeah. So I don't think we need a decision tonight, but I definitely want the committee to spend at least a few minutes on their feelings, first and foremost, of going forward with crafting a farm animal ordinance, and then reviewing after this. I think I sent it to the whole committee, or Howard did, the one from Tinley Park. We could probably use as a template of something similar if we're going to go forward with this. So I'll open it up for discussion right now. I'll start with myself. I'm in favor of allowing chickens, for an example, but only a certain amount and no roosters. I think I mentioned that when we talked about this last May. I think I looked at our minutes. It was like May or June we discussed this last year. And because I don't want to openly say you can't have them, because it's kind of the thing now. Multiple different people can have them from different backgrounds and professions. It's become fashionable to have chickens. I have a high school administrator with me that just bought herself a chicken coop with 20 chickens, and it's like in LaGrange Park. So it's everywhere. So I don't want to say we're against it and be on the wrong side of a battle here, but I'd like to say some kind of ordinance or rules put down that if it becomes an issue, that we have something we can point to saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to have, and what you have now is not following the rules. So that's just my opinion on that right now, and I'd like to open the discussion. So feel free, whoever wants to bring up their opinion first.
Well, Alderman Cazares here. My foremost, obviously, this whole farm animal situation revolves around just chickens, because chickens are a thing, like you said. But I want to make sure that the issue of stray dogs gets resolved. If we're going to move forward with anything, stray dogs and responsible pet ownership needs to be enacted in whatever ordinances we come up with, and with that, responsible fines that will put a little bit of backbone to this ordinance, because those of you that sit on the Public Health and Safety Committee know that we were beyond the budget of what was allowed for animal, the canine or pet rescue, whatever I forget what we called it, but basically our police department is not a animal control patrol. So I would at least say that whether it's a dog or a chicken, when Blue Island police or the city is called to handle the situation, there needs to be at least some type of citation that will hurt. I'm not saying financially, but there has to be something that will let our owners know that if you're going to let our residents know that if you're going to take the route of having farm animals such as chickens or even pets, as in dogs and cats, you have to have some level of responsibility before you're thinking about moving forward with that. That's my
agree.
thought.
It's Alderman Mech.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi,
Mike. Yeah.
thank you. My biggest concern is that when an ordinance is written, that these chickens need to be kept in a coop of some sort, a house, because I have residents here in the board, and they're just like free ranging these chickens in their backyard and then in their garage. And, we're talking about a rat issue. Well, that just, feeds a rat issue with their droppings. So whoever crafts this, we have to make sure that there is a confinement for these chickens in the right manner.
So this is Howard. I like to mention two things. It's true. I was participating in yesterday's Municipal Services Committee because I've been also tagged with trying to create some type of a rodent abatement program. And again, like I mentioned with that committee last night and with tonight's committee with you guys, I see it as a two-step process. The first part is to have a health inspector on board, because this is going to be a health-related issue that needs to be reviewed by a health professional. The second part, especially for the farm animal, is the enforcement. And I want Ahmed to understand that the property building inspectors will be the ones that are going to be enforcing this new ordinance if it gets approved, just like, grass cutting, nuisance and stuff like that. So I want the building department to be aware of this, because it's just like what Cazares said. We created an ordinance, but then it needs to be enforced upon.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
Howard, let me mention something on that, because I did go today at 12727 South Sacramento. There's a couple of person that complain about that. And I was looking actually the city ordinance, and it was very much about animals. They don't talk much about the chicken at all.
No.
But I noticed something also, that the city ordinance require a animal control officer to do that type of job. And actually they talk about being like a police officer, because they can enforce those kind of issues. Not the building department.
We had one in the past, Ahmed. We had one before I was an alderman. They had a guy that actually, we call him a dog catcher. But I think that he can probably handle that as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I have some issues in my neighborhood. They got roosters. I thought these things only crowed like in the morning. They crow all day long.
No. All day.
And then you do need a rooster to create a chicken egg. So I'm just saying, we just like we're doing now, hashing it out.
Alderman Johnson, I learned you don't need a rooster to create the eggs. You need a rooster to fertilize the eggs. But we're not going to go down that path. Our dear friend John Spizzeri had chickens and roosters in his yard. You remember those?
Hey, don't talk about my Spizzeri.
And nobody knew he had them, and because he kept them in the garage, and nobody knew they were there. But there's a lot of people that have them. I'm in favor of us working with this new health inspector that comes on board and crafting something. And I'll add to this also. I think it has to be based on an easy way to do this would be basing right now. I think you can't build any structures if you've exceeded 40% of your property plat of survey. And if you have, like, let's say, room to wiggle, then you're allowed to build a chicken coop. Within the chicken coop, it has to be so many feet away from a neighbor's property. This is all in that Tinley Park ordinance. It gave me all these ideas. I think we can very easily build it to Blue Island codes, and not every property owner will be allowed to do it, because some of these property, you're on top of each other on these houses, and that wouldn't be fair. But that's all in the Tinley Park ordinance. So I want the committee to review it. It's a funny matter, but it's a matter that we've tabled before. And I definitely want us all on the same page going forward, because it would not surprise me that a group comes out of the woodwork that would say chickens for Blue Island, like this group came out of in Tinley Park, and they spent a year to formulate this ordinance. So I'm going to look at it over myself, since we're sitting at quarantine anyway. And I think we could easily modify it for Blue Island, and at least it's a starting off point, and we can put that in the books to, if it's something is being abused, like the ones over by Eisenhower, we can say, hey, according to this ordinance, you can't have this, so we have to do something. And then if we know, if a group does come out of the woodwork and say, this isn't fair, you're limiting too many people to do it, or yada, yada, we can always amend it. But I think we need to put something in the books. And as of right now, I think we can strictly talk about chickens, because that seems to be the biggest issue. I'm not going to bring up my farm down here in in western port of my ward, where I got peacocks and pigs and stuff, but because nobody else is complaining about it. But right now, the chicken seems to be the issue in most of the wards, and I'd like to start off with at least this chicken issue, and I think this ordinance is just chickens. So if you have any ideas with this, please send them to me. I'm glad to take the lead on getting the alderman concerns and ideas, and I can I could type up all the suggestions and put them all together in our next packet for next month's meeting, and we can build off of that. Going back to Ahmed's concern, yeah, in the past we did have a animal control officer. That position, I don't think it even exists anymore in the police contract. There's a lot of ordinances on our books. For example, there's ordinance that we have 50 marshals in the police department, which I think Randy would know I'm talking about. It might not be the police department, but it's still on the books. We have a lot of things still in the books we don't actually do. I think it still needs to fall under the building department, at least as to start. So if this person has 37 chickens and we're only allowing 10, he can say, you're breaking this ordinance, and you bring them to housing court just like we would anybody else. And then if it's an abuse situation, we can involve Cook County animal abuse and other shelters that are in place now that didn't exist years ago that would step in, just like when someone has 27 dogs at their house. So unless any other alderman has concerns or comments now, I'm fine with being the lead on this. If you have ideas after you've reviewed this, email them to me and I'll composite a list of ideas and send them over in our next month's packet, and we can build something off of that. I would think that would be my suggestion right now. So if anybody has any questions or concerns.
I have one. So for example, I was reading that ordinance. I don't remember at this point. We should have some type of a registration of these animals. So at least the building department has a running list or an Excel spreadsheet, like you said. If someone applied for it, like let's say this year and 2 years down the road, they're not handling their animals correctly, then we could rescind this permit. It can be renewed annual, like a business license or something like that. So at least we understand what's happening. We have some control. If we have 15, 20, 30 households with chickens or stuff like that.
And I agree, and I think that's in that Tinley Park ordinance too already. But I agree, yeah, we can say. Here's the thing: just like our dog tags, most people will not do it, but it's another thing to throw at somebody if someone complains and someone is abusing it. They're not even a permitted use. So not only they have too many chickens, they're not even licensed to have the chickens. So I get where it comes from on an enforcement issue. The more black and white things you can get on somebody, the better when it's an abuse situation. So I'm in favor of having a registry. We all know it's probably half the people are going to register, the other half won't, but it's good to have it on the books. So if there's any other comments?
I agree, Fred. And also what Howard was speaking on is the droppings, you know what I'm saying? The mice and rats feed off that. So, that I don't want to have a Chicago problem with rats, you know what I mean, as well. And like you said, it's in the ordinance about spacing, so many feet of property to have something of this nature, because they got them right on top of these houses, right on top of the house.
No, I agree. And some plots, some land in town won't be able. If I'm on a house that's only on a 22-foot lot, and like Raeann grew up, I know exactly what you could jump from one window to the next. They might not have any chickens.
I got some stories for that.
I know. Literally, you can't walk between the two houses. Obviously, we're not going to grant them a license to have chickens. So we have to and it's in this ordinance, Tinley Park has feet. We might have to minimize some of that because their average lot is 75 foot wide, where ours are 38. But I think we can build off the same general language and just convert it to us and go from there. So any other comments on this topic?
No.
Okay, well, like I said, if you think of anything, send it to me. I'll take the lead. I'll compile a list and I'll send it back out along with the ordinance again for our next meeting, and hopefully we can put something together. All right, so that's number 6. Number 7, discussion on the building issues of Maple Tree Inn and Esparza's restaurant. So Ahmed, I seen you attached I'll speak on what I've seen because I drive past it every single day, or I walk past every day. They've torn down everything that was sitting on city property is gone. They still have a lot of the fire damage sheds in the rear of the property still standing, but they fenced it off with remnants of what was left of the what's the official name that they had out there? The veranda or whatever. They kind of used pieces of the veranda and boxed in the bad pieces behind the building. So the building is not accessible anymore to the public, but there's still substantial damage. The still building is wide open, meaning there's windows that are wide open. There's still holes in the roof. And like I said, the rear of the building, the burned out shed where the fire actually started is still there. However, everything is off city property as of right now. And then I'm going to turn it over to Ahmed to go into more detail and what are we going from this point forward. So Ahmed.
Yes,
I just got one. I just got one question.
It's a recommendation from the attorney, Leslie Kennedy, which was last week. I issue a letter to the lady, Ms. Ernestina Preciado. She received a letter, a certified letter to actually submit to us the letter that actually makes ownership or something that is the owner actually is entitled her to do the work because apparently she's only an emergency contact. So the letter actually, we are giving her 10 days to respond to that letter. If she doesn't comply with that, then the attorney's recommendation is to proceed with the demolition of the building, because she must submit to us the letter that she's actually given authorization by the owner, and it's got to be signed by an attorney and certified. And at the same time, she have to submit also plans and drawings, architectural drawings to do, what kind of work she's going to be doing and what kind of demolition she's going to be doing on the second floor because she wants to live there. So she got only up to the 27th of this month to respond. Other than that, the recommendation from the attorney is to proceed with the demolition.
Okay. At least we're getting somewhere. And now I know Alderman Johnson was going to say something. Alderman Johnson?
Yes, Chairman. Remember the rat issue. Have they solved the rat issue?
Not that I know of, unless Ahmed knows. I'm still getting complaints about the rat issue because the issue is still the basement coolers. When I asked one of the construction workers, they didn't demo anything in the basement yet. So, and God forbid, that's my personal hell is to think of what's in those coolers after 2 years of shellfish and stuff like that. So I think there's still a rat problem there. Guildhouse is still in communication with me. And that's unfortunate because both the house next door is empty. Jebens is now empty. So though they were all complaining before, and then now that the bars are closed there, the only people still complaining is Guildhouse, but that doesn't mean one complaint is one complaint too many. Before that, every business owner on that block was complaining to me on a weekly basis. So I believe the rats are still there. So Chihuahua-sized rats. So Ahmed, I want you to keep working on this. I saw Leslie's email. It's from a health and safety standpoint. It looks terrible, but at least something is done. But it's from a health and safety standpoint, until the entire building's cleaned out and de-infested, we still have the same health and safety issues with the rat infestation. So.
Yes, that's what I mentioned to her actually when she sent us the picture, even though the attorney actually saw that on Facebook. And that's what I mentioned to her. I said, just because you removed the northern part of the building, that doesn't mean that we're okay, because there's a lot of stuff in the back. And there's also inside the property that needs to be removed and have to be cleaned out. And plus, I mentioned that her permit was already expired. So that's another issue that I told her that we have to put a stop work on that, and also issue a citation and violation on that. And luckily, next month, I think we already have adjudication court open, so we can take a lot of people to court. And actually, she'll be one of those. But at the same time, like I said, she only got a few days left to respond to us, otherwise we'll proceed on the demolition.
And Ahmed, while I have you, and I mentioned it before, the house next door immediately to the south has been empty for years, and it partially was burned. And I want, whatever we're doing to her, I want to do it to them because it would not be fair. They have the same property issues next door. It wasn't a restaurant, and hopefully there's not a food situation there, but the property also is neglected sitting next door, directly to the south. So.
Is that the one that
Yeah,
looks like a little kind of like a garage type?
Yep, yeah, the garage and house, that's been empty for
Yeah, yeah.
years, and, yeah, that, I want to make sure whatever we're doing for her, we're doing for them, because they're both burned.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the attorney, I gave her both files, the one on 3301, and then the next door actually, which is 07. Also, she got that one, and we will be following on both units and the both structure.
Okay, thank you. Any Alderman concerns about the maple tree before I move into the next one? All right, any updates on the, and this one's a minor compared to this one, the Esparza's restaurant with the new, nothing's been changed. They're not for rent. I know the neighboring businesses have inquired. They're not renting the spot. They're not doing anything with the spot. This is another example that I know. It's like these vacancies up and down Western where people say it's vacant. I hate to respond when people say, "Oh, that corner is vacant." They don't want to rent to anybody. But on top of that, I'm sick and tired of seeing the newspapers. You know, but I don't understand how some business.
Every time I ride by there, I think of you, Fred.
Yeah, the business didn't want to close. They were forced to close, and now we have an empty storefront, actually technically 2 storefronts, that they don't want to rent to anybody. It doesn't make any sense to me as a business owner that I want vacancies, you know? So any updates on what's going on with that property?
Yes, I also issued a certified letter to the lady, and actually she got a response also to us, and I'm waiting for her response. We already given the 10 days. And the other thing is, I was reading something on the code that even though that I think it's occupied the second floor, because I've been on and off out there. The second floor is somebody's living there, but according to the code, there's a possibility that we can go over that because, you know, she doesn't want to rent it out. She doesn't let anybody occupy that. And we can actually follow on certain part of the code and try to get her to respond, and also try to lean something on that part of the property, though.
Well, I'd be happy if you just take the newspapers down, but go ahead, Howard.
Right, because the newspaper falls under a nuisance thing for either an abandonment or vacant property. It's part of the broken windows model. So technically it's not a sign. Those windows are not window signs, so it's newspaper. That's why I can't enforce it in a zoning manner, but it could be enforced under the building department, which Ahmed is talking about as a nuisance. Because in a situation like this, if the property has been abandoned or not inhabited or vacant for more than 3 months, then the building commissioner, what the ordinance says, can require a plan of action, and that also deals with windows. Windows need to be remaining open, needs to have some type of opening. If they want to put a plant or a portrait at the window to dress it up, they can, but they can't cover it because it's part of the nuisance ordinance.
That is true. Exactly.
Whatever you guys can do, and speaking on Old Western and in general other properties, the other one that was on this list that are removed because Mark Miller has added it to our list of properties that we're trying to attain through the land bank is the one that had the fire immediately to the south of city limits. And I think we're in the process of attaining that. And Public Works, just like the gas station on Sitco, they painted the entire front of the building green. So we're not looking at a boarded up building anymore. But that should be falling under our auspices very soon for redevelopment, like we do for these other properties. And then the vacant lot that used to be a building directly to the south of the new Vada Winter Bluin corner there, which he's expressed interest in. We're almost ready to put that out to bid too, to sell that vacant lot of the city-owned lot there directly to we're across from Giuseppe's Pizza or across from Esparza's. There's a vacant lot the city owns there, and they're interested in purchasing that lot. So we're moving forward with that stuff. All right. So while I have you on here, Ahmed, do you want to discuss anything else from the building department?
Well, the former Walgreens, which is now it's going to be Dollar Tree. They already have finished most of the work. Actually, next week they're going to start doing the parking lot, and also next week they're going to start doing the interior part. They already waiting for to pay for the permit. That's going to be one area that's going to be working pretty soon. I believe that by the end of June they're probably going to be opening out there.
Okay, and I know Howard mentioned to me, Ahmed, and the rest of the committee, we we kind of encourage them to replace those garbage trees outside. I don't know. I don't think they're
Yes.
going to do it.
So-
Howard, do you have an update into that?
Yeah, I have an update. I went back and forth with Bill Shiner on that.
Shiner.
Yeah, Shiner, yeah. We went back and forth with that. His landscape architect says they can't put any mature trees on the strip that's facing Western Avenue, but I was able to get 3 6-foot spruce trees to be placed in the area facing 127th. So he is going to be adding new landscaping. He is aware that he has to prune and trim those trees, bushes that look really disorderly. He's aware of it. I've even asked in an email and communication with him, I like to see something like an annual or biannual landscaping plan, because this is a very key, important intersection for the city and needs to have better landscape and it needs to be better maintained. If he wants to debate with me that what he has there is viable and it's fine, then I want him to maintain it in a better manner. So I was able to have him revise his landscaping plan, and now he's going to add 3 new trees. Facing 127th, he's going to take down the pole sign, he's going to do the monument sign, and I've also been in deep conversations about the fenced area that he's going to do in the rear part of the property where you have the cul-de-sac. So he's going to leave an opening so the sidewalk can continue from Olive towards the strip mall next to it, which is the Blue Island Seafood store. So there will be a little opening on his 6-foot rear fence, but the fence is going to go towards the other fence line. He has reassured me that no cars will be able to trespass from Olive Street cul-de-sac onto Western Avenue.
Great. Thank you, Howard.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And while we're on that intersection, I'm sure it's a pain for you guys. The strip mall with the Blue Island Seafood.
Yeah.
I saw they waxed today or yesterday, but has there been any communication on anything they promised that they were going to do there?
The problem with this, because this keeps going every spring, summer, this comes up. When Mike Marzell was still here, he was ordering them to first pay their water bill before they could even talk to us about landscaping, because they were interested, and this was him communicating with them directly, not me involved. He said for them to, let's say, apply for a grant to do landscaping through the business development grant, he wanted them to first start paying their water bill. And that kind of like shut down everything. I know they paved or put paved areas in the parking lot to reduce the holes that they had. It's not perfect. For them, it seems like it's very expensive to do landscaping and to maintain their property. I've gone back and forth for the last 2 years with their landscape architect, since they have a very small strip on Western Avenue, to put up a decorative fence and to redo the landscaping, which they're going to do, but they want money from the city to participate in that.
I have no issue with that, just like any other business with the grant. It's just not going to be a lot because there's a lot of property there. So I think it'd be a drop in the bucket, but I have no issue if they have a plan and submit it, that we can pay for a portion of it through the same grant we give anybody else.
So what I can do, I'm going to see if I have it on this laptop here. I'm going to see if I can retrieve it via email. He did submit a landscaping plan last year with my encouragements on landscaping. If I have a copy, or if someone from the city could email it to me, again, IT, I could share it with the committee next month and we could go over it. Because there are some of the things that I was asking for was better landscaping, remove the shrubs or trees that are pretty much dead and put something more lively. I've also conversed with them about doing trash enclosures in their rear area. I said they could be ones that could open sideways in their rear alleyway that they have that goes around where Jimmy John's used to be with their drive-through. And that's something that I was conversing with Brian, with the property owner. This is something I like to restart again with Ahmed. Trash enclosures, their parking space, and landscaping. 3-prong approach.
Thank you, Howard. That sounds good. Sarah Brown with the marketing department, marketing report.
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, with the coronavirus pandemic, marketing has largely turned into communications, because that's been the most important function, is to get out information about the pandemic and the city's response. So along those lines, we worked on, and this is for April, we created and distributed a coronavirus resources for seniors email, which was a supplement to a printed piece that was also sent to the a senior list. This email had a 64% open rate. Average for municipalities is 25% open rate. So it's nice that we are reaching a good portion of people, but we are going to try to increase that. I know this next newsletter that's going in the water bills, a recommendation from a few of the aldermen, including Alderman Bilotto, was to have a list of all of the aldermen by ward with their email address and phone number. So if people are having difficulties during this time, and they need some resources, that they have those connections. We had referred to that in the last newsletter, but directed people to the website to find the information. And so instead, this time there will be a full list of everyone. We also are printing a basic application for Smart 911 sign up, which is how we also disperse information. You know, that used to be what was code red and those systems. Now that's through Smart 911. You can sign up for it online, and we do get that message out, but you know, to the point of there are many people in the community that might not have that access. We wanted to make a printed resource available as well. So anyone that receives a water bill will have a paper application to sign up that they can send back to the clerk, and those will get entered in the Smart 911 system. We created a format for weekly employee. So these are internal communications that we're sending out every Friday now. We started that on April 10th, and those are sent out from HR. That's just to make sure that the staff, all the employees, are updated as well. We're continuing to film video updates from Fire Chief Rita on the city's coronavirus response. We do those weekly. We'll be doing those again tomorrow, as well as a message from Mayor Vargas. He also, we did a special message for first responders and appreciation for them. I'm sorry, it was for telecommunicators. And so all of those were posted to the city website, the YouTube channel, the Facebook. And the results of that is your subscribership. It's the result of these meetings being broadcast, but also some of the additional information that's being put out. Your subscribers have increased pretty dramatically on YouTube. Your overall views of your videos have increased pretty dramatically. And I know Ben can provide those updates as well. The website itself it was a record April for traffic, 18,366 visits. That surpasses the April record in 2015 by 5%. And the city Facebook page saw some pretty incredible increases in engagement and post reach, increases in the 150 to 200% range. And that was largely driven by a community development project, the gas station awning teardown. That post alone, just so you guys are aware how popular this project was, it reached 7,794 people, had 773 reactions, comments, and shares. So that definitely drove engagement and participation with the city Facebook page over the last month. So those are kind of the highlights. Any questions?
No, I'm good. Anybody from the committee?
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Sarah.
I have a question, Chairman Bilotto, from Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown, you're doing a pretty good job, but what about the old people or seniors that don't have access to technology, and some of them don't know how? And I know you sent some stuff through like water bills, but if they don't own the home, the actual water bill, they probably don't even open the water bill. You know what I mean? And I was just suggesting that I know Alderman Clinker sent out a senior list that needs to be updated. So I know in the future we're gonna have to do something a lot better to track our seniors or people. Period. You know.
Right. No, I agree.
But thank you, though.
I agree. And I think there is Alderman Clinker is taking the initiative, I think, to help update that senior list. And for those of you with residents in your wards, if you have access to technology as well, you can either, if you know someone that needs to be on this, Smart 911 sign up or on the senior list, you can jot down the information and pass it along to the clerk's office or Alderman Clinker, or you can report it online through the frontline reporting feature as well. But I agree, Alderman Johnson, that senior list is much smaller than I was expecting, and we can do better in general, just getting people signed up on those sorts of lists.
Thank you.
Bilotto, if I may, that list that Alderman Clinker sent out was a culmination of the people that get senior vehicle stickers that on the records that have purchased this year, and the water bills that have the senior trash rate. So,
yeah. And I know, clerk, we mentioned this before. There's a lot of people on there that have passed or passed away or moved away, and not everybody gets those discounts because they either are too proud to do it or they just don't want to do it. Because I know that, so it's a list, but it's a starting point.
No, exactly. That's what I wanted to point out. That was where that list came from, was just from the records in my office that have from water bills and from senior stickers.
You're frisky then.
All right, I have quite a few comments tonight or additional announcements. I'll open it up to the committee first. Any additional comments or concerns or things you want to see on the next month's agenda?
Obviously we've already talked about the the animal issue, the farm animal. That's obviously one that's going to be important. Like I said, are you going to bring up the gas pumps and the future of them today?
Yeah, I know we didn't discuss it between me and you, but I did have someone. I'll bring that up now. And you can jump in. I had at least one person has reached out to me that they had an idea of doing like artwork on a rotating basis at the old gas station, because we're stuck with the pumps and the building. So backtracking a little bit, this committee has worked on demolishing what we could, which we did finally. And Mark Miller streamlined the process through the city ends, and we got the canopy torn down. Decker Brothers Construction came in and tore that down, and they tore down the signage, the two tall monument signs. And then Public Works, I met with them, and I know we didn't discuss it at the committee, but I figured the committee wouldn't have an issue. I had Public Works go in there and clean up the property, cut down all the garbage trees that were growing through the fence, sweep everything up, and then board up and paint everything one color. So now it looks like it's there 1,000% better than what it looked like before. I didn't put a before and after picture, but it looks like you don't notice it when you drive past unless you notice it like me and you and us. We would know what was there before. But if you're just driving by now, nothing's there to grab your attention like before as a decrepit piece of property. So I had a constituent reach out saying they want to work on or at least have the idea of having some kind of rotating artwork or art community kind of thing with the gas pumps in the building. And is that what you were talking about, Alderman Cazares?
Yeah, it like those basically those structures now are, blank canvases, and they're asking for some artwork to be put on there. I mean, we don't know how long those quote unquote canvases are going to be up in that status as being white. So pretty soon that white's going to look, they're going to have rust spots and things like that. And that's something I want to avoid. I'd rather retroactively or proactively, set out to encourage our local art community to come up with ideas to, I don't want to say graffiti art or anything like that, but I do want to see I want to see those those pumps with some type of art that either will be new and modern, or at least in the least represents our our community in the whole. So whether it's art that is representing or art by community members that represent our demographic.
No, I agree. I was gonna bring it up tonight, but I'm glad you brought it up too. I think in conjunction, we can work with the marketing department and think of putting something together that would be inviting, and we would have to just approve what's going to be put on there. But I think it could be easily done. They're not huge areas. It's very temporary. And if we have one or two people that come out of the woodwork and want to volunteer to do small murals or something on there, I think it would be awesome. And then even if not all the areas are painted, at least a few of them, it would be awesome addition to something that's probably going to be around for a while because of the EPA issues with the tanks still being there. And I've clarified that to multiple different people. Yes, the tanks are still there. Yes, it's still an EPA site. Yes, it's still privately owned. It's not owned by the city. We just took the initiative of cleaning it up for an entity that wasn't doing it. So I agree. I think we need to do something. I'm glad you brought that up. And
well,
I think we got to just think about how we're going to do it.
Well, the issues that I see being presented is I'm sure whoever's hearing about this right now is jumping at the opportunity to do this. But once they, being an artist myself, I know that there's a cost behind any type of art, and I don't know. I don't know if I have too many friends of my own that are going to be willing to do this, specifically free of charge, but with the materials coming out of their own pocket. So I don't know if this is going to be offered, if there's going to be some type of grant that can be offered through the community district to at least offer a couple $100 in terms of art supplies and whatnot. Because
I think, Alderman, there's no one's going to be against that. We'll find a few $100 here and there. I think we just got to streamline what we're doing, so we're telling everybody the same exact thing. And I agree 100%. And the good part about it, even it's on Western Avenue, so we can use the streetscaping part of it. It just has to be done on some kind of uniform form. So if someone does get approved to do it, they're getting the same amount anybody else would.
Yeah.
So it's just equal across the board, and people know what they're getting into.
Hey,
but I support it.
Hey, you know what the best thing about those canvases are? It looks like they're 6 feet apart.
Yeah. Yeah, they're more than 6 feet apart, but yeah, you're right. Social distancing. Yeah. No, I like the idea. Does the committee have any additional comments on that idea?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's awesome.
I love it. Maybe the alderman can pitch in and pay for the paint. Who knows?
I already thought about that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we'll figure this out. Alderman Cazares temporarily put you in charge of this initiative.
Who are you talking to?
He's the artist in residence, though, Alderman. So, all right. So that covers the gas station. Anybody else want to bring anything up? Otherwise, I got a few things I want to talk about.
Wait, I have something.
Yeah.
What didn't we talk about getting a price on meters for the parking lot behind Klein's? Did we talk about that?
We did. I don't know if we have information on it. Eric's not on here anymore. Or is he?
Howard?
Howard is here.
Still here.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything new on that? I know we were talking about in the past.
Fred, I can update you on not update you, but tell you, we already have that capability with passport parking. It's a virtual meter where it's 2 hours, and they go through and the squads can do it right now with the software that we have already, where they can just punch in the license plate, and then they'll get a notification in their squad car that says, hey, it's been 2 hours. They can drive back and see if that car is still there. And it's fully admissible, and everything is wonderful. There's no chalk in the tire. There's no expense for putting up meters. It's just an enforcement issue that we have the capability of doing right now.
All right. So we got to continue discussing that as we rebuild these parking lots on what we're going to do.
That's what I wanted to do.
All right. So what I got a couple announcements. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's Alderman Mech. I just wanted to say thank you to the building department. I had a couple issues this morning, and I sent out emails and photographs, and they were actually out today and responded, and I got notification of what's going on. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and great job with that.
Alderman Alexander?
Yes. Do you have a status on the Dollar Tree on Western?
They discussed that already. Real quickly, they're still planning to open, and they're redoing the parking lot and the exterior and the interior, I think, very soon. I think Howard mentioned that about 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Right, the
It was
landscaping,
part
the
of another
fencing,
conversation,
the
so
monument
it's probably
sign.
blended together.
Okay, thanks.
So basically, they're still going forward. We don't have a date yet to opening, though, do we, guys?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But they're planning basically, they said something about the end of June.
Right.
Okay. All right. I got a couple things. The new planters that this committee and city council approved arrived today at Public Works. And Jim, in combination with Jim and Val Kehoe, have worked on the planning, where they're going to go and what needs to go inside of them. And they look great. I just seen pictures. I didn't get a chance to go over there and take a look at them yet. Jim, depending on weather, is planning to start putting them out on Monday next week. And then the actual flowers, Val is working on dates. She gave me some tentative dates, but I don't want to put them out there yet in case they change. But we're probably going to want to increase the amount of volunteers for that, because we've tripled or quadrupled easily. I don't know, Tom, what do you think? We usually kind of quadruple the amount of planners out there, right?
We've had like 35 planners, but they were completely a lot smaller than they are now.
Okay.
These are huge.
So these
So
are
yeah, the planning space is at least tripled. Yeah.
So I'd like this committee to jump in on whenever we get these dates, and as soon as I get them confirmed, I'll let you guys know. And if anybody's available that day, we can all help on planting in these brand new planters out there. And it'll be a great addition to Western Avenue. So they came in, and you guys should start seeing them up and down Western Avenue starting hopefully by mid to end next week. And then we'll put
Maybe
together
you should share some of those pictures with us.
Yeah. Maybe I will.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll take a look at them in person, and I'll send you pictures.
Thank you.
So those will be
Thank
coming
you.
out. And census 2020 update. Right now, I think we're at like 51 or 52%, which is, it's not terrible compared to other towns with similar demographics, but it's not as good as our neighbors. Alsip, for example, I think is at 70-some%, and they're our neighbor to the west. So we would want 100% count.
I think it's pretty good
Unfortunately, because of
considering,
the COVID.
I think it's pretty good considering that's all done with social media.
I know, and I think what we need to do is everybody that has social media access, push it. Every time you see the city post something, I would share it. I'm sharing it at least once a week. I think hopefully I get a few people that like it, that decide to do it.
The District 130, District 130 just put it on their Facebook today, and I shared it.
Yeah. Dave Johnson's the chairman of the committee. He's doing a great job. He's putting together ideas to do a mailer. We got a grant to do a mailer to people that did not respond yet, or multi-units. So him along with Browntown Communications, Sarah and Kevin are working together on designing a mailer, and that's going to be paid for from the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association. We're not paying for it, which would be another step in letting people know to fill out the census. But I think it's still a big deal, and I don't want to go spend too much time on it. We all know we need to complete the census accurately for economic opportunities for the city going forward for the next 10 years. So if you guys are on social media or just in passing, when you talk to members of your constituents, I've been adding on a lot of stuff to my conversations about supporting Blue Island businesses, but I'm also mentioning make sure you fill out the census. So just even like my own tenants of my apartment buildings, the last 2 months, did you fill out the census? Prove to me that you filled out the census. So if you guys could just start bugging people, they extended the deadline, but still, even if we tell everybody we know, there's still going to be people that are not going to fill it out. And until we know when this quarantine is going to end, people aren't allowed to go knocking on doors to convince people to fill it out. So we're kind of all doing this through social media and mailings. So that's all we kind of could do right now. So I just want to hype that up, the census again, and
Fred,
whatever you guys do to support that.
and
Yeah,
Fred,
Randy?
also, we're gonna also put laptops or touchpads or whatever in the clerk's office for when you get your vehicle sticker. We'll ask everyone who walks through, have you done the census? Go ahead to the terminal right over there.
Yep. I saw that. We were talking about that back and forth today, and we were going to get reimbursed for the terminals too. We have to buy them, but then we get reimbursed for them 100%. So we're doing good. The funding's coming in, and I'm going to give thanks again to Dave Johnson. He's doing a lot of this on his own, completely on his own. And he's gotten everything so far we've done is been paid for from grants that he's been getting through South Suburban mayors and managers. So I'm glad that he has volunteered to step up for that, and he's doing a great job, and hopefully we can increase our numbers. And especially if the quarantine ends, we need to increase our numbers. And I expect the aldermen to get out there if we can do that and support that physically too, not only social media wise. All right, a couple last announcements. There's a Together Blue Island Strong. A few aldermen mentioned this last night. Face mask and food distribution this Saturday at Eisenhower from 10:30 to 12:30 outside of the Performing Arts door, the west parking lot. They look like they've got plenty of volunteers, it looks like, but it's going to be from 10:30 to 12:30, face masks and possibly some groceries, community event, multiple sponsors from the mayor, state representative Justin Slaughter, CASA, Kathy and Mark Keener, Mike Wilson, Salvation Army, Wellness Center, Alderman Dexter Johnson, Bill Farrenwald. I know me and Raeann have volunteered already. They're on here. Angelo Green, Isabella Reyes, Tyrone Maxey. But it looks like they got enough volunteers for this. Hopefully we have enough to pass around, but it's from 10:30 to 12:30 outside of Eisenhower. And hopefully anybody who needs something, they come and get it. So that's one of my announcements. The next one I got.
Wait, Fred, can we have a flyer for the census to hand out that day too? Since you and I are both going to be there.
Sarah, you're still on here. Do we still have any flyers laying around that we got before? Do you know you or Kevin have? I know we had gotten some in the past.
I know we still have some, just because we got them shortly before the pandemic hit and we weren't able to, put them out anywhere because those places were closed. So I know we have some. Do you know how many masks are being passed out?
I don't have a number, but I don't know if Raeann, you want to get in touch with Sarah and pick some up from her so we have something.
Sure, Saturday, or yeah, I could pick them up at your house Saturday beforehand or something.
I was gonna say I want to make sure that you have enough, and so if we have any idea, of maybe how many families or how many, cars that will be assisted, that we could get some printed.
I have no idea. I just heard Justice Slider is bringing a couple truckloads of stuff, so I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
All right.
I wouldn't go at this short notice. I wouldn't go above and beyond and getting more stuff printed out. If you have some stuff, we'll pass it out. So.
All right. Well, my other question is, if you have that information about the mask giveaway, that could be shared, I'd be happy to share it, obviously on city social media and whatever other channels.
There wasn't really a flyer. It was just Carol Green sent me a text. I don't know about you, Fred. What did you do?
Yeah, same thing. I got a text. I'll talk to you more about it. I'll send you what I have, Sarah, and we'll talk about it. Okay. All right. So the next announcement I have is, and I just saw this, in cooperation with the Blue Island Historical Society and Eisenhower High School's football team, which will receive a portion of the profits, Stan's Donuts is coming to Blue Island via the mobile food truck on June 6th outside of Memorial Park from 9 to 12 on June 6th. And this is very exciting. My wife last week drove out to Oak Brook and bought a dozen donuts. The owner of the company is Richie Labriola, who's born and raised in Blue Island. He's a Blue Islander, and he's done this in cooperation with the Historical Society. So they can get a portion of the profit. So it's a fundraiser for the Historical Society and the Eisenhower football team. So I already commented to a few people that have asked me that I don't want that truck going back with any donuts. So I want to make sure we sell out whatever comes on that truck. So already on the Facebook post that's only a few hours old, it's 461 people have responded to this. So hopefully that's not going to be a problem that we have to worry about. But it's June 6th, Stan's Donuts via their food truck from 9 to 12 outside Memorial Park. And it's a fundraiser for the Blue Island Historical Society and Eisenhower High School's football team. So I want to make that announcement. I'll make it again at the next city council.
If they run out of donuts, I'm going to hold you personally accountable.
That's fine. It's a good problem to have,
Don't let the police get here before us.
Yeah. No, so I think that's all I have. We talked about that. Oh, and just some houses are starting to come down, the abandoned homes that Mark Miller's been working with the land bank on, and we added a bunch of homes also to that list. So hopefully we could finally start tearing down some of the stuff that cannot be salvaged. So and that's across the city, almost in every single ward that's affecting. So, and most of the addresses you already have. But again, as the grass starts growing, Alderman, if you see a house that hasn't gotten cut, which is very obvious pretty soon, email myself or Mark Miller or both of us, and we'll try to get it added to the list and add it to the list for cutting and add a list that we can go after the property and eventually take it over, try to sell it to somebody that can rehab it or knock it down. So keep an eye on your wards amongst everything else we're doing as aldermen. So that's all I have. Any other comments from the alderman?
No.
Go ahead, anybody? All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, me.
Second by Johnson. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting's adjourned. We meet again in June. Send me your chicken ideas. I'll see you guys later.
Good night.
All right, good night. Good night.
So